The official notes for New World 1.0.5 are live, and the game is currently down for maintenance. In my opinion, this is the biggest patch that we've had so far. Let's talk about it. Hello and welcome to my patch notes series for New World. My name is Kodio. I make survival, crafting, and MMO content. If you like what you see or hear, please do consider dropping a sub or a like or any sweet whispers down below. Let's get into it. So right off the bat, the team addresses that one of their biggest concerns is all the coin sellers and gold farmers. I will say, while the trade house was down and all forms of wealth were disabled, it was kind of nice having a couple days of peace from all the gold farmers. But what they've done to try to combat this is that they have banned and suspended many of the reported accounts. We don't have a number, and so it's going to be kind of hard to tell. If you don't know, what was happening is that these gold sellers were able to just create mass amounts of accounts using one copy of the game, using the Steam Family Share feature. I won't go into too much detail on how that one works, but it's very easily exploitable, so they're going to have to do some fixes elsewhere to prevent that. That being said, they have added a restriction to prevent player-to-player trading and currency transfer from characters under level 10, or whose account is less than 72 hours old. So logging in after your account is 72 hours will enable your ability to trade and transfer currency once you've hit level 10. This is probably going to help quite a bit because of the thing I just mentioned. What was happening is they would make an account, they'd get in, level 1, they'd just start spamming it until they were banned, and then they would just log out, log into a different Steam account, and then log right back into New World. So I think this will at least slow it down quite a bit to where we're not getting spammed as often. On top of that, a couple things here that helps is that they've redistributed coin value from some of the early quests to later in the main storyline, but they've kept the total amount of coins earned the same. I think this is a really good update because it does a couple things. One, it's going to slow down the gold farming from these gold sellers, but it also is going to help prevent the recent exploits that we've seen of people who are just mass creating accounts to farm gold early. A lot of people are just making a character after character after character, getting to a certain level, sending all that gold over to one character, then repeating and repeating, getting on that last character, and mailing it over to their main character. Trading post usage will be restricted until new characters accept the introduction of trading post quest in their first settlement. I think this is a really good change as well. I think that this is probably something that should have been in at the beginning, but it's good that it's at least in the game now. They said that they will continue to monitor the impact this has on bots and the health of the game and continue to adjust as necessary. Alright, so exploits. Fixed a bug where players were able to duplicate items via storage sheds and crafting stations. We fixed the issue of gold duplicating on territory projects we introduced by disabling trading and made sure it would not occur in the future should we need to disable trading again. If you guys aren't familiar, this is something that was pretty popular on Reddit lately. What had happened was they disabled trading in all forms of exchange of wealth. So when companies would go to upgrade territories, what would happen is it wouldn't let them. But if they re-logged in, it would try to refund them back the coin that they were spending. So just say it cost 10,000, right? They tried to upgrade the forge or something. It wouldn't take their money. But when they logged back in, it would try to refund them that 10,000. So it would just give it to them. So a lot of companies were exploiting this to get ridiculous amounts of gold. So combat, this is where I think this patch is my favorite so far. I think this is a really, really good section. So combat, life staff, orb of protection. Okay, well, sorry, the first one kind of sucks for some people. Remove the small area of effects that were triggering on pass-through from every hit of the base version of orb of protection. AoE no longer triggers on pass-through from the Aegis upgrade. It will only trigger on impact against an enemy/object now. I'm not too familiar with the life staff, so you're probably going to have to look into this one a little bit more, but I do know that they've been tweaking the way that the AoE from this weapon works for quite a while now. Reduced attribute respec coin cost by 60%. This is huge. It currently costs, I believe, 500 gold to respec all your stuff, which is quite a bit. So reducing that by 60, you're now spending, what is that, like 200, 220-ish gold to respec, which is a massive difference. Reduced weapon mastery respec Azoth cost by 75%, so it was 150. This is another really big change. I think what I really, really like is that it's making it easier to experiment. Right now, I'm trying to figure out which weapons I like the most. I'm leveling up everything I can. I'm not quite certain which two weapons I want to use or which attributes I want to use. So this is really going to be helpful, mostly because I don't have a lot of money in game. It's kind of getting hard. I've been doing Outpost Rush, which is helping a lot. I'm very happy to see this change. Reduced coin cost of chisels by 20 to 50% depending on the tier. This is going to be nice as well. The chisels are used for the orbs. If you aren't aware, the things to enter dungeons. To encourage competition in Outpost Rush, we slightly reduced the coin and Azoth rewards for the losing team. Now this one is actually a bit of a bummer to me. One thing I really appreciated was that even if we lost, we still got good rewards. It made it, in my opinion, a lot less, I don't want to say toxic, but that's probably the best word I can think of. Because if your team is not doing well, or if they're not doing what they should be doing, you know that it's still okay because you're still going to get good rewards. But now that there's more at risk, there's more on the line, people are going to start getting a little bit upset if somebody's not doing what they should be doing. And I don't think that's going to create a great environment. It's a little bit different because right now you have to be level 60 to do it. And so what's going to happen is that you have people who are going in who have never done it before, and they're just going to get thrashed by people who know what they're doing, right? It's a little bit different than, say, other MMOs where Battlegrounds start at level 15 or something, right? You have many tiers to try out and learn the way that the Battleground actually operates before getting to end game. We're now competing with people who have been doing this 100 times. So that one's not my preferred method. I get what they're trying to do, but I don't know if that's really what I would like. I'm going to have to get in game and actually test out how big the difference is. But I think I can safely assume that this is definitely going to create more tension during these outpost rushes. We have surfaced the war conflict progress bars on the map in the faction board when there is an upcoming invasion, as you can still gain war conflict for your faction. We have surfaced the war conflict. Why does the sentence not make sense to me? When there's an upcoming invasion, and as you can still gain war conflict for your faction. I'm sure that means something to someone, but not me. Identical weapon equipping. Players can no longer equip weapon of the same weapon type in both weapon slots. We want each weapon slot to have a different weapon type to open up combat diversity. This change also addresses issues which could occur when swapping between weapons of the same type. So here are my thoughts with this one. I don't think there's anything wrong with having two of the same weapon, personally. If somebody wants to run double fire and have them be totally different trees, that's fine, right? If you want to run double sword and board, oh, that would be really interesting, actually. Because one shield. The idea is there. I think that they're wrong. I think that they have it backwards. When they say that we want each weapon slot to be different, to open up more combat diversity, I think that's actually backwards. I think that by doing that, you're removing the option for people to be a little bit more unique and run two of the same. Personally, I think it would be kind of cool to be able to run two weapons that just have different trees. Like, I think it would be kind of cool. Like, if you really like both trees in, say, the musket, I think you absolutely should be able to play both of those. I don't think there's any reason that you can't give up your second slot to be able to get the other side of the tree. Of course, have the same thing where your passives don't transfer over and whatnot, and I think it would be totally fine. If you guys aren't aware, there was a bug where you could bypass the, I'll say the tempo of your basic attacks by swapping weapons. So if you had two fire staffs, you could left click, swap left click, swap left click, and just do that over and over and over. And they were kind of calling it like the machine gun exploit. You could just rapid fire off basic attacks. So I see what they were trying to fix, and most likely the decision to do this is purely off of trying to fix that exploit. But I think that the reasoning here doesn't make the most sense. Group scaling passives. Fixed issues which could cause passive effects that scaled on the number of nearby foes, such as Bloodlust for Great Axe, Against All Odds for Hatchet, and Outnumbered for the Warhammer, to apply incorrectly. So this has been kind of a big exploit recently. For the Hatchet specifically, there is a passive called Against All Odds, which increases your base damage by 10% for every enemy within 5 meters. Apparently this was scaling incorrectly or something was happening. We don't have a lot of information on the perk. We don't know if there's a cap or anything, but supposedly people were hitting 3k per hit. And for a fast attacking weapon like the Hatchet, that's pretty OP. So we'll have to see how strong that actually can be now, because 10% per person around you when you're surrounded by 8 people is pretty huge. You're almost doubling your damage output. Spell Strike consistency. Fix issues which cause several magic spells, such as Ice Storm and Gravity Well, to not hit consistently. This is something that has been an issue for weeks now. If you aren't familiar, there were certain things that were breaking the AoE ticking, the dot ticking from AoE abilities. So if I placed my Ice Storm down, sometimes I wouldn't get a single bit of damage off of anybody. And for Ice Storm and the Ice Gauntlet specifically, that's like 90% of your damage output right there. So not having that work was massive. There were certain perks that were breaking it. So if you had like the Unending Thaw or Undying Thaw, I can't remember which one, on your Ice Gauntlet, it would break all damage. But then they tried to fix that and they actually broke it entirely. And then sometimes it just straight up doesn't work. So this is, in my opinion, one of the biggest fixes because this has been such a big issue. Combat's a big part of this game, whether you're PvE or PvP, it doesn't really matter. Unless you're strictly doing gathering stuff and crafting, combat's very, very important in this game, and a lot of it's just broken. So it's very good to see this going in. The Resilient Item perk has been fixed. They fixed an issue that caused this perk to reduce all damage instead of just damage from critical hits. If you guys aren't familiar, this has been a really, really big issue because the faction gear gives resilience, right? And it's supposed to just reduce the amount of damage that you receive from crits, but instead it was reducing all damage entirely. So what was happening is instead of getting 30% reduced critical damage that you receive, you were just taking 30% less damage from everything. It made the faction gear by far the strongest gear in the game, regardless of gear score, regardless of anything else. It was just overwhelmingly powerful. I am a little bit surprised that this wasn't hotfixed earlier, but I'm glad to see that it's getting resolved now, at least. Also, rip to anybody who grinded out that faction gear, trying to get that 30% reduction. PvP flagging. This is a really big one. They fixed an issue that allowed PvP and PvE players to heal each other. This is something that is kind of game breaking for open world PvP. If you can have 5 healers go out and not flag, but then heal one person who is flagged, you can effectively have a 6-man squad going around where only one of them's at risk of dying. It's really, really broken, so I'm glad that that one got fixed as well. And now the Outpost Rush. Fixed an issue that was allowing players to get out of the starting fort before the match starts. We now prevent multiple players from interacting with the altar and Outpost Rush. This will prevent players from getting multiple summon tokens per 500 Azoth. Fixed an issue that sometimes caused the nameplates of summoned allies to appear hostile. Fixed an issue that was causing Battle Bread, the food buff in Outpost Rush, to be twice as effective as intended. This is something that has gotten, I'm sure, a lot of people reported. I know specifically on my server, Thalim, I don't know how to pronounce my server name, there's a guy named Ashmorn who was being accused heavily of hacking or exploiting a shit ton yesterday, actually. And I'm pretty sure he was just using the Battle Bread. He might have known that it was bugged, but regardless, he was using something that was in the game. You buy it in the Outpost Rush, and he wasn't dying at all. We had like 11 people just wailing on him, trying to get him dead, and he had maybe 1 healer on him, and we couldn't kill him. It doesn't matter how good your healer is. It doesn't matter how tanky you are. We couldn't kill the guy. We were hitting like 50s and 60s, so it was not good. The Battle Bread was definitely bugged. Updated the tooltip for Battle Bread and Monster Slayers Stew to properly describe the buffs they provide. Fixed an issue that could cause players to become stuck in a teleport loop if they teleported out of Outpost Rush while using Unstuck. I heard that there was a guy that got stuck for like a week because of this, and that's why they had to disable the mode. Alright, general bug fixes. Fixed an issue that prevented some people from joining Outpost Rush because they had a pending group invite. Repair kits should no longer require coin to use. Fixed an issue that sometimes caused players to use the wrong consumable when using consumables from the inventory screen. This happened to me a lot, way more than I would have appreciated, of course. And it seemed to happen most with my trade skill food as well as my proficiency boosters, which is really, really a bummer. I had used a high tier skinning trade food instead of using a mining one, and because it was so valuable, I just went ahead and skinned. I was all ready to go on my mining route, but I didn't want to waste the food, so I swapped over to my skinning gear and went skinning instead. So I'm really happy that's being fixed because it was actually happening to me quite often. Fixed various issues in invasion status showing before the invasion was declared. Updated missing English text for on-login pop-up explaining housing tax compensation. Oh yeah, when that first happened, I logged in, it was just broken text. Fixed an issue allowing magic weapons to animation cancel their primary attacks with a weapon swap or targeting spells, causing rate of fire to be faster than intended. This is the bug I mentioned earlier, and that's they said that they fixed the issue, but all they did was they made it so that you can't equip 2 of the same weapons. Fixed an issue that caused Ice Gauntlet Upgrade Pylon Dodge to only work immediately after you place the pylon. The Ice Pylon is extremely broken. I'm avoiding using it altogether because it's breaking people's gauntlets to the point where they can't even remove the weapon. Fixed an issue that could cause a player to lose their house while offline during maintenance. In a future update, we will be reimbursing the players who encounter this issue. That's good to know. I have heard of a few people this happening too. Fixed an issue with an enemy AI duplicating and stacking spawns during the quest Shivering Timbers. Fixed an issue that allowed players to initiate a server transfer if they were in the tutorial. Fixed an issue causing the trading post to become unresponsive or delayed. I've been having this issue a lot, even before the recent turning down of the trade post. Sometimes it would just kick me out, and then sometimes it would tell me that the item I'm looking at is not at that trade post, which is not true. There were a lot of little bugs that were happening. They weren't there a couple weeks ago. Improve server performance when a large number of players congregates in a settlement. Well, that's good. I'll have to see how that one works out. Fixed an issue that caused some territory influence to not be properly recognized when lots of players turned in PvP missions simultaneously. Well, that could be a big one. Fixed an issue causing some player titles to show as uninitialized. I still have this issue, so we're going to have to see once maintenance is over if this is fixed. Fixed an issue where players could become stuck while fishing with lag. Interesting. Fixed the UI notification for landing in a hotspot while fishing. Good. Fixed a localization issue where bonus crafting percentages for tools were displaying as 0% for non-English languages. Fixed the time in Europe to properly account for the change from CEST to CET. Fixed an issue preventing gear score to increase past 589 from drop rewards. Wait, what? Fixed an issue preventing gear score to increase past 589 from drop rewards. Oh, great. Now we're going to have lots of people saying, see, this is why I'm not higher, because the game was broken. When maybe 2% of those people were affected by that bug. Oh well. The fixes listed below are tentative fixes and mitigations. Our goal is to set these changes out and see if issues persist, so we can continue to work on them and address in future updates if necessary. Implemented a change to help us dig into the timed out while waiting for the server to describe world issue. Alright guys, so overall I think that this is a really good patch. I think that this is a bit more loaded than every patch that we've received so far. This in combination with the trade fix in the last few days, I really think that they've been putting in a lot of good work this last week. They fixed a lot of big issues like the hatchet exploit, the resilience on faction gear, and then they also threw in some quality of life like reducing respec cost. That is all for this video, guys. A quick reminder, please do consider slapping that subscribe button, little bell notification, leave a like or a comment. It's really, really appreciated, guys. I am struggling a little bit to get into the new world market of YouTube right now. So anything you can do, it's always appreciative, but no pressure. As always, peace.